You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Sometimes we need to slow down and remember the simple pleasures in life. Good coffee, good books, and good company. Come on in. Take a seat. The coffee's just been brewed. Let's see who we have in the coffee shop today. What a wonderful day in the coffee shop. Now I'm looking around. Who do I spy with my little eyes? RJ Batla, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome.
There's a book on the table, Fire Eyes Awakened, and it's got your name on it.
It sure does.
And I believe you said it was your newest, so tell me a little bit about the book.
It is my newest. So it is the main series that I've got going. It's called the Centurions of Terra Unum as a series. But this particular book, it follows Jayton Baird. He's the main character. He's a small-town boy who gets his powers awakened, and then all kinds of shenanigans happen around that. And then they ask him to save the world, of course, so he's got to go halfway across the world to try to do that. And this is book one of a four-book series.
Now, what genre is this?
So it's kind of a mashup of genres. If I had to pick one, I would say epic fantasy. But really, it's a mashup of epic fantasy, sword and sorcery type with super elements of superheroes, and then Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon cartoon. It's really a mashup of those three. So it doesn't fit neatly into one specific genre.
That sounds fascinating. Sounds like it might even have a touch of thriller in there somewhere.
I hope so. I hope so. It should have a touch of thriller, a touch of humor. One of my favorite authors is Jim Butcher, and one of my favorite characters is Harry Dresden, the Dresden Files, and he's a smart aleck wizard, and I try to channel that a little bit into the main character, Jayton, when he's talking.
A smart alecky character, they can be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how my mind works anyway, so it was a little easier to write.
Nothing wrong with that, RJ. So how long did it take you to write this book?
All told, 10 years, but that wasn't a solid writing. So I kind of started writing, I'll say 10 years ago. I don't know the exact date. And then I put it down for a while. Life got busy. Then I picked it up maybe 7 years, put it down a while, then picked it up again 5 years ago or so. And that's really where this story started really taking shape with this set of characters and these ideas. But then again, I put it down for life getting busy. And then about 2 years ago, I decided, I've got all these ideas in my head and on paper and on Excel files and Word documents all over everywhere. So I think I want to do this. And so I started doing some research and really looking at story structure, looking at how to get published. And then I discovered self-publishing. So said, okay, so this is actually going to be something I can actually do. So then I really got serious, started learning more of the craft, wrote a whole bunch, then condensed it down, and then the end product is Fire Eyes Awakened. So all told, 10 years, but probably a good 2 to 3 of really digging in and getting into the meat of it and sitting down and hammering it out.
That's quite the process. And what made you already said you're self-published. What made you choose self-publish over traditional?
To be honest, the control and the speed, because I could set my own release date. And then if I can't make that, I can push it out. If life gets in the way, because I have a day job too, if stuff happens and I can't write or can't get to what I'm needing to do for the book business, I can push my dates out. I don't have to do anything on anybody else's schedule other than mine and the fans, what they expect from the book, and from me. And then I can set my own price. I can do promotions. I can give the book away if I want to. Some of the online retailers have made it really easy to do the I say really easy, relatively easier to do the self-publishing. And then you're not waiting on somebody to go in and approve your book, to actually like your book, to maybe even actually read the snippets you send them or whatever, for traditional publishing. And I'm not down on traditional publishing at all. If it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And then speed. If I wanted to put out 10 books a year, which isn't going to happen unless I win the lottery and buy some land and go live out in the middle of nowhere for a while. But if I could put them out as fast or as slow as I want with no, like I said, no deadlines.
Well, I think that's great. And like I said, everybody has their own path, and that's what makes the current world of publishing so amazing.
It really is. And there's, I listen to Joanna Penn's podcast a lot, and she had one recently, like maybe 2011 is really when the indie publishing, self-publishing started really picking up steam, and the quality of the books, this is her talking, has increased so dramatically that a lot of times you can't tell the self-published from the traditional published. And that's kind of my goal when I write and when I put anything out as well. Yeah, I don't want anybody to be judging on, oh, this guy's self-published, he might not want to do. No, I'm very concerned with a quality product getting out there.
Well, I think a quality product is the end result for everybody.
I agree.
So, did you design this beautiful cover yourself?
I did not. If I could show you I kind of designed the elements on how I wanted it to look, but it is literally stick figures and lines and little stars and symbols with a pen. There's no way I could do anything so beautiful like that.
So you had your cover professionally done?
Absolutely. Know your strengths, and drawing is not my strength.
Well, they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody's guilty.
Exactly. That's one of your main attractors of readers is the cover. Because, I mean, anybody does that. If the cover looks nice, you might pick it up and go further. If it doesn't look like anything you might be interested in, then you just pass over it, even online when you're shopping. That's just how it works.
Oh, yeah, and I am guilty of buying most of my books for my Kindle.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing. I use the Kindle app on my phone because I always have it with me, and I've got a decent sized phone where it's not hard to read. But yeah, I am a big ebook proponent. But then there's other times when I want the physical thing in my hand to actually read the physical product, and especially when you start talking nonfiction books and how-to books, then I tend to gear more towards the physical. But any kind of fiction I'll usually keep on my Kindle or Kindle app and be able to blow through 10 pages if I'm sitting waiting in line for something or whatever.
Well, I am guilty of somewhat the same thing. I have, like I said, the majority of my books are on my Kindle. In fact, my poor Kindle can't even hold my whole library.
Oh no. Oh man. That's a lot of books.
That's a lot of books. I'm a voracious reader. I've tried writing. It feels like punishment to me. But you put me behind the microphone or give me a book, I'm happy.
Awesome. Then there you go again. A different, everybody's got their niche on what they can do and what they like to do.
I'm sure I probably could write if I really wanted to put my mind to it. But like I said, I've tried this writing game a few times because I feel like I'm a little island surrounded by writers, and they're always going, write. And I'm kind of going, not for me, guys, but I'll read what you write.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
And I'll read anything that crosses my path. That's the thing. I'll give anything a few pages. I don't care.
That's awesome.
I've been accused of reading the cereal box on this kitchen table more than once.
Hey, sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you just need something to get your brain going. More than coffee.
Oh, coffee is an essential ingredient.
I agree with you there.
Isn't it one of the 4 food groups?
If not, it should be. I think it's special. It's not even in the pyramid anymore. It's its own circle above the pyramid. It's like the sun, maybe.
Well, I know my world revolves around that cup of coffee. And nothing happens before that first cup of coffee. So,
I can believe it.
How did you craft your character?
So the main character is kind of based off me. I'm a little bit kind of goofy and smart alecky, but when it comes down to it, I've got a big, strong work ethic, and I sit down and can hammer it out, get my hands dirty, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the mannerisms of the main character is how I base that off of. There's different races in the world. So like there's 3 different races that use water magic. There's earth magic, which is the dwarves, healing magic, fire magic, and wind, and then this energy. So a lot of the characters kind of take on qualities of their element, if you will. So like the fire race is the Phoenix, and they're generally a lot more aggressive, a lot not hot tempered, but just wear their emotions on their sleeve. Where the river water people, the Rika, they're more go with the flow, easier going, but also real forward in what they want. They'll go after it. So that's kind of how I put the mannerisms in it, and just some of it I model like off of what kind of character you would expect, like a hard-nosed sergeant or a laid back surfer dude, just kind of those kind of types of people, and then blended it from there with what I was trying to accomplish with the character, what their role was in the book.
So do you have the small town county sheriff in there too?
No, not yet. Not yet. That might be a future episode, if you will.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I just had to ask.
I'm actually going to write that down. I think that's a good story that I need to put in there in the world somewhere.
So when you sit down to write, and like I said, I can't do it. I can't face that blinking cursor on that blank screen. I just can't do it. It's not my thing. I just freeze up and go, How do you overcome that blinking cursor on that blank screen?
Well, I was kind of the same way as you when I first started. Some days I couldn't figure out what I wanted to write, and just nothing happened. And then other days I'd be able to blow through a couple thousand words. But most of the time I write at night after the rest of the family's gone to bed. I got 2 little kids, and my wife, when they're sleeping, I'll pull out my trusty computer and get to typing. But what really helped me is outlining. That has been the biggest thing, or plotting, putting it on paper. That has been the biggest driver of me being able to do something with this writing thing at all, because I don't have to think about what I'm going to do. If I sit down, okay, I'm going to write the outline. So then I've got a set of things that like a template I follow on, not what's going to happen, but just like things that happen, like your first plot point, your second plot point, your inciting incident, those kind of things lined out. That's all it says, but then I can know what story I want to tell and start filling that out. So then once I got that, I'll expand each of those sections and get more creative as I expand it, and then I'll actually sit down and actually write each of the scenes / sections as I go through, and then it changes even then as I'm writing. So it's more like the pirate code in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's more of a guideline than a rule, and it changes as the story progresses. It changes, and sometimes I got to go back to the first and change something because I wanted to do something at the end. But that's been the biggest thing for me to overcome that blinking cursor syndrome. And that's very common. And I tell you, at least every author that I know has gone through that at some point. Just what am I going to write? And when you have that outline and okay, I'm going to write a scene where Jaden has to fight some werewolves. Okay, well then I know what I'm going to write. How he gets how he beats them and how he does all that, I may not have figured out yet, or I may have some kind of ideas sketched out below it. But then I can sit down and expand upon it there. That's been the biggest thing that's propelled me to be able to actually write.
So you're definitely a plotter.
Definitely a plotter. Definitely. not a pants. I don't see how the people that are pantsers that can sit down and just write and let it flow and it make coherent sense. I'm amazed by that. Definitely a plotter.
I've also run into this hybrid group, as I'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't outline the way you do, but they have their main plot points. Plot point A, plot point B, and plot point C. But they may not know how they're going to get from A to B or B to C.
Mm-hmm. I got one of my author buddies. That's how he writes. He knows the beginning, middle, and end, but he doesn't know how he's getting there until he starts to sit down and goes. Actually, two of my author buddies are like that.
So you mentioned author buddies. So do you have a lot of friends near you that write, or these online friends?
Mostly online. I have one. He actually was my kung fu sifu, and he's helped me a lot. He's here local. But otherwise, one's in up in Montana. I'm down here in Texas. One's in Illinois. One's in Idaho. One's in Oklahoma. So they're scattered, and it's all online, mostly through Facebook messaging, just because that makes it easier. And then we all support each other, ask questions. There's a ton of Facebook groups for authors just to ask questions and help each other out. It's the indie author community is incredibly giving with information and willing to share what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what they advice, if you will.
I think it's great. I really do. I think it's fascinating how you guys managed to find each other.
It is, and half the time I think it's an accident, to be honest with you. Just like you're in the same comment on the same thread, and you see this what he's written. Oh, that's cool. Hey, and then you send them a message, and it just conversation flows from there. Where are you at in your author journey? What are you doing? And sometimes you'll reach out to people, and they don't respond as much. But a majority of the time, they'll be willing to talk to you and go further the relationship, if you will.
I will say, I'm not a writer, but I do feel like I'm part of the author writing community because I love to read the books.
Oh, yes. Writers wouldn't write anything if there wasn't anybody to read it. Well, some might, but if there wasn't anybody to read it and comment on it, that's half the fun. That's probably the most fun I have is interacting with readers and talking to them. I was messaging one the other day. He made a comment on one of my Facebook posts, and I just was messaging back and forth. And then he ended up writing a review on my book and said the author messaged me, and that's so cool that the author would actually take time to message somebody back. And I was like, wow, I love that. That's some of the coolest stuff as an author. And the best way to thank an author is to write a review, to be honest with you, or to just tell them, hey, I really enjoyed your book. It's insane the feeling you get when somebody says, hey, I really enjoyed your book. And it's like somebody telling you your kid's nice, or they're very polite and they're beautiful. It's the same kind of feeling almost.
Well, I've heard more than one author or wordsmith or writer, whatever title you want to use, describe their book as their baby. So
it kind of is. I mean, it's a long process getting some of them out sometimes.
So is there another book in the works? Because you mentioned series.
Oh yes. I've got a bunch of outlines already written. So the Fire Eyes Awakened is book one in the Centurions of Terra Unum series. That one's a planned 4-book series. If I can get it done in 4 books, that's the plan. It may take 5, but I'm thinking I can get it done in 4. So the quest that Jaden has to go on, he has somebody from every race going on that quest with him. So there'll be 7 or 8 in what I'm calling the Origins of Terra Unum series. So those characters that I don't get to explore as much in Fire Eyes Awakened, each one of them is going to have their own book. So that's the one out. The other one I have out right now is called Against the Beast. That's the trainer and mentor of Jayden Baird. He's a ranger, and he's the main character back way before Fire Eyes Awakened, maybe 20, 30 years, when he was just a rookie ranger on his first mission. So that's that origin story. So I'm going to have an origin story for each of the different character races. And I actually just this week finished the first draft for the Tempest story, which is Celeste Dumas is the character. And I finished the first draft. I've already got the cover artist done with that one. So that's actually going to be the next book I put out before I put out book 2 in the Centurions series. So I've kind of done it backwards. I've got 2 series going at the same time. I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not, but that's what I'm doing.
I had to laugh, at least quietly to myself, because I didn't want to interrupt you. Oh yeah, imagine somebody from Texas calling on the Rangers.
Everybody's got them on speed dial. It's like mom, dad, wife, Rangers.
I mean, because we've all heard of the almost larger-than-life legend of Texas Rangers, and I have huge amounts of respect for our law enforcement community, but it's just the Texas Rangers seem to have this larger-than-life legend.
They do. Even here in Texas, it's just maybe because it is something so specific to Texas, and we got great state pride in general. But so anything that has Texas specific like that, it's just something we latch on to. And yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. They're larger than life here too.
Just had to comment on that because Texas Ranger.
Absolutely. Half the time that's what people, either the baseball team or the law enforcement piece of it, that's a lot of times what they associate with it. And a part of it has to do with, the American West and how they were such an influential part at that time in American history too. That's it's kind of like the U.S. Marshals and that kind of thing. It's just some of the nostalgia back from that time to period too.
So do you include any real Ranger history or facts in your book? Or is it all make-believe world?
No, it's all make-believe world. It's actually a future Earth set where it's not post-apocalyptic, and there's a whole different group of people, but like just there was a big in this world there's a big event where all the continents were rearranged, everything, volcanic explosions, tectonic plate movements rearranged everything, and that's how the map in the book comes to be, and so it's almost like a new world. And at the same time, all of a sudden, people started being able to do these amazing things with powers over the elements and just different superpowers that start emerging. So that's where the fantasy piece comes in, and it's a new old world. How about that?
Like I said, sounds fascinating. I love your descriptions. Now, I have to admit, this is probably where I fail as a reader. I don't do book reviews.
Oh,
at least not associated with my shows.
That's all right. That's not really failing as a reader. If you read the book and enjoy the book, that's the most part of it. And anybody we can get to put that into words on the site where you got it from, or the site most of the time nowadays, or the bookstore, that's an added bonus. But a satisfied reader is the best reward.
Any book that I review on my show, I will never leave a public review, that I have on my show, I will never leave a public review for. That won't stop me from dropping the author an email, because if you've been on my show, I got your email address.
Exactly. And that's perfectly fine. You're kind of in a unique situation with that too, being but to be honest, coming on a radio show, that's a pretty cool thing for any author, especially a self-published author who may or may not have the backing of anybody. So that's really cool for us too. So I'd say that's a pretty if you say you're failing as a reader, you're definitely shining through as a reader there.
Well, like I said, I don't want to associate my show with book reviews. My goal is, how many times have you wondered, how long did it take this author to write that book? Or what was their writing process like?
Absolutely. And
so I like to get the authors on, and just like I'm doing with you, how'd you come up with that character? Peel back that curtain just a little bit. Because trust me, everybody likes to think they got the inside scoop.
Oh, yes. I like the inside scoop, too.
Exactly. So my goal is to kind of peel back that curtain just a little bit and give other readers the chance to ask the question. I ask the questions I think, as a reader, people are going to be interested in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you've got 2 series going at the same time. What's the other series?
It's called Origins of Terra Unum. So it's still in the same world, right around the same time frame, just a couple of decades before, or maybe even 5 years before, depending on the character and what it is, before the events in Fire Eyes Awakened. And it's so like I said, the characters in Fire Eyes Awakened are going to be the main characters in each of these origin stories. So if you liked and that also gives me a chance to explore each of the races in a different, deeper, where I don't want to say I don't have time in the Fire Eyes Awakens book, but there's so much going on. It's so focused on, what the main character's goal is. We don't get to go see the elf capital in Elmendorf. We don't get to go see the dwarf capital in Clifton. We don't get to see those societies in depth that I want to explore, even myself as the writer and creator of it. I don't know everything in depth on what I'm going to put into those different societies until I'm diving into each of those origin stories, because I don't have to know it at this particular point in Fire Eyes Awaken in that series. But it gets even more creative juices flowing for me to really explore more in the Terra Unum, and to really get to know these characters and these races even more, and at the same time the readers be able to do the same thing once I put it out there.
Now, you mentioned you're kind of making these little cities up and making them happen. Do you ever worry that you're going to write something in one of your books that's going to contradict one of your earlier works?
Constantly, but I try to take pretty copious notes, and I've got Excel files everywhere and Word files everywhere, trying to outline what I did, or not outline, but notate what I did and where I did it and why I did it, and what actually happened. And then on my handy dandy Kindle app that I bought my own book on accident one day. I was looking to make sure everything worked right, and I clicked the one-click buy. So it's on my Kindle. So I've gone back through it and highlighted stuff that I need to make sure and remember, and then I put it in my notes file so I can know to not contradict that. And then when I'm writing each of these, I'll double check it with some of the other works I have to make sure I don't contradict stuff. But if somebody finds a contradiction, tell me and I can fix it. That's another one of the great things about self-publishing. If I find an error, or a reader finds an error and they tell me about it, that same day I can go in, change a few keystrokes, resubmit it to the online retailers, and it's fixed and up and running for any future readers to not get distracted by a mistake that I made. And that's one of the other cool things about it. I really enjoy that piece of it. That's that control thing, to be able to fix stuff, because I've heard through podcasts and talking with other traditional published authors, sometimes they just say, no, we're not going to go back and fix that. It's too much trouble. Whereas with us, we as an independent, we can have a speed. It's an aircraft carrier versus a speedboat kind of mentality.
Well, I personally think it's amazing, and think that keeping the notes and trying to keep everything straight, that's also, I think, in my personal opinion, the sign of a well-organized author.
Well, thank you. It's organized chaos with me. Sometimes I feel like I have too many files and notes and different stuff going on, but I appreciate that. It's a lot. It's a lot.
You can't see my desk, or you definitely see the definition of chaos. Although the funny thing is I know right where everything is.
Exactly. That's the same way. I'm the same way. How do you know where it is? It's right there. How do you know that? Because I put it there. That's the spot.
Oh yeah. Don't clean my desk. Don't touch my desk. It's off limits. Even the cat gets yelled at for putting a paw on my desk.
Oh shoot! You ought to know better. What's your cat's name?
Philip.
Awesome. Philip, you should know better than that.
Oh, he knows better. And, in fact, he makes multiple appearances on my shows as Host Kitty.
That's awesome. So you actually got to record his meow?
That's an old recording from when he was a little kitten, but yes.
Awesome. Awesome. That's cool.
But I just like the way the purr mixes in with that one.
Yeah, it's a really cool noise. Or sound effect, not noise.
Either one. But yeah, even the cats aren't allowed to mess with my desk. And my husband, well, let's just put it this way. He values his life.
Yeah, we got to know where to draw the line sometimes.
Yeah, and touching the wife's desk, do you value that hand?
Might draw back a nub.
So, like I said, it's one of those things. My desk makes no sense. I had, a friend of mine came over. You said it was on your desk. Yes, it's to the left of the to the left of the computer, between the computer and the external drives, underneath the pile of papers.
Yeah, what?
No, they were able to navigate that.
Oh man! But like you said, you knew right where it was.
Oh yeah, there's certain items on my desk. They have spot A, and spot A will always be their home. Well, you don't want to misplace certain things ever.
Right. Like the coffee cup.
Oh yeah, that's always on the right-hand side. Trust me, the coffee cup and the bottle of water are always on the right.
You must be right-handed then.
Yes, I am.
That's where mine is too.
So, how long do you think it's going to be before you get the second book of Centurions of the Terra Un series of Terra Unen out?
You got close, Terra Unum, but that's good.
Sorry, Terra Unum. I had an N sound on the end.
That's all right. The second book in that series is probably going to be first part of next year. By the time I get everything written and the holidays coming up too, or written, edited, cover design, all that stuff. So I'm gonna try to put out at least in that series one every 6 months. That's my goal. And in between those, I want to try to put out one of the Origins series. So that's why, while I was getting Fire Eyes Awakened edited, the final edit, I was started on the Tempest novel, which will be the next book. It's in the Origin series, and it should. I'm hoping to get it out October, November, but it's been slow lately. I've just been pretty busy with life in general, so I haven't got as much writing and editing done. But like I said, I got the first draft done now, so that's the hard part. Actually, the first draft comes pretty easy for me. The editing's the harder part for me, going back and correcting everything, making it really pretty and really flow. And then the grammar editing part, I despise with a passion. So I have to. I'm glad I found a good editor for that part. Let's put it that way.
Well, I always like to say I think every author needs an editor and needs a good one. And I will say, some of the self-published books I've read, you can tell the ones that weren't edited professionally.
Yeah, you can.
And that's probably my one turnoff.
Yes, I agree, and that's why I hired a professional editor. And there's probably some typos in there still that we both have missed, but I mean, because it's 111,000 words, but they're fewer and far between, and everything makes more sense. And I feel like that's part of making if you don't have the money to do it, that's one thing. But if you're going to put out a quality, me personally, if I'm going to put something out in the world, I want it to be as close to professional quality as it can be. Be, like I said, on par with those from the traditional publishers.
Well, I think that is great. And RJ, unfortunately, it is time to pay those radio station bills. So I'm going to pour us a cup of coffee, and we will see you on the other side of this commercial break.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
All right, thank y'all for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. And yes, RJ is still with me, even though I stumble over the name of his world, Terra Unum.
Hey, there you go. You got it that time.
So how did you ever come up with the world?
So I've always been a big, I love drawing like maps, just hand drawing and coming up with different shapes of where the mountains and the rivers would be. That was probably one of my favorite parts of doing it. And I don't think I know I drew the map before I started writing the story. And so I kind of knew what I wanted to do with the story and just structured the land masses to feature how I wanted it, to look how I wanted it to, and have a narrow strip in the middle where they like two continents, just a narrow strip to get back and forth between them. So it was a fun process, and I loved coming up with it and really getting deep into it. But then once I was done, I was like, okay, that looks really cool to me, but it is not what you would put in a book or on a poster or anything like that. Like I always think of the Lord of the Rings type map, or the Terry Brooks novels, the Shannara series, where that kind of fantasy map, that's what the look I was going for. So I hired a professional. I sent them, hey, here's my rudimentary drawing, and I swear it was like 2 days later they had the whole thing drawn out and they were asking me questions. Here's the forest, here's mountains. What do you want the mountains to look like? What do you want the water to look like? And they spit out this final product that's just incredible. I've always wanted to draw, I never could draw. So I'll stick to writing, but it was so much fun just creating a world. It's kind of like you're building when you build something, but you're just doing it on paper. It's an incredibly satisfying process.
Well, did you use the same artist for the map as you did for your book covers?
Actually, no. The artist for the map I found through a Facebook group for authors, and we talked to one of the people on the group said they have artist services, and I IM'd them or personal messaged them and said, would y'all be able to do a map like this? And I had an example, and she said absolutely. So then we started working through that process. For the cover artists for Fire Eyes Awakened, she was out of Brazil. She's since moved to the U.S. and I found her through Upwork, which is just an online freelancer site, and it's incredible what you can get done if just to pay the money and pay somebody who knows what they're doing to actually sit down and take your ideas, what you have in your head, and put it into fruition and have it look so amazing. It's incredible. So that Fire Has Awakened was done in Brazil, and then for Against the Beast, I actually one of my author friends who does kind of the Photoshop stuff on the side, he did the Against the Beast cover that's got the shield and the eagle, which is the Rangers symbol, and laid against the fire background, kind of like that. And he did that. And again, it didn't take him very long. It took him maybe a week to get all that lined out. And that's another amazing thing about the world we live in with the internet. You can be talking to people around the world and be able to work with them, and everybody speak the same language and be able to spit out a final product. And for some of the other Origins covers, I actually found a guy over in Europe who's going to be doing those, and he's got a couple of them going for me right now. The Tempest novel, he's got that one pretty much lined out. I think I've got to make one more decision on a smaller scale on what I want something to look like. But he's got that, and that cover's amazing. I'm very excited to release that one to show everybody that cover. And then he's got another one he's working on for me too. So I got North America, South America, and Europe covered. I just need somebody in Asia and somebody in Africa, and I'll have all the continents save Antarctica.
I don't know if you can hire a penguin.
I don't think so. I don't know if they have a PayPal account.
No, I think they work for fish. So, do you put the map in all of your books so that people who are picking them up out of order can actually see the world and explore it?
I do put it's in all books, and it will continue to be in the books. And what I did for Against the Beast, because it's on a particular piece, all the action happens in a particular piece of the map. I actually blew that piece up, zoomed in, and to where you can see more of the topography and where that looks like, where the actual events are happening. Because that, as a reader, that's one thing I would constantly be flipping back. Okay, they said they're in Clifton. Where is that? So I go back to the map. Oh, it's right there. Okay, so I can see where they're going on their journey to go to wherever they're trying to go. That was one of the fun things I liked as a reader. So I wanted to include that piece into my world as well. You don't have to have a map in a fantasy world, but I feel like it's one of those kind of standard things that I really enjoyed as a reader. I liked seeing the map, so I wanted to do that for other people. Some people don't really care as much. They just go with the words, but then I know a lot of other readers do the same thing I do, that they got that front page, the one finger on that front page, and when they can flip back and see it. It's a little harder to do on an e-reader. You got to go all the way back to the front, then come back. But that was one of the main things other than enjoying it, one of the main reasons I put the map in there.
Well, I think putting the map in is a benefit to everyone because it's so hard to picture a fantasy world without some kind of visual reference.
Exactly. And even if you can be the best wordsmith and describe exactly how that peninsula juts out into the land, it's a lot easier just to throw the map up there, and you can still describe it, but then they can see in their own head, okay, that's what they're talking about. And then their imagination can really blow up, and they can kind of see through the eyes of the author, which is really what you're doing when you're reading a book anyway. You're seeing into the head of the author as they're creating it.
RJ, I'm going to have to pause the recording for just a moment. I'll be right back. I've got somebody coming to my front door.
Okay.
All right, so I agree with you. The map is an amazing thing. I know for me, when I'm reading a fantasy book, particularly one with a unique map or design, I'll often print out or have a picture of it saved somewhere outside of my Kindle so I can reference it without going all the way back and forth.
That's an awesome idea. I actually have not thought about doing that. That is awesome.
I was just
I'm gonna
about
have
to
to start
ask if
doing
you
that.
have the map on the wall in your office.
No, I haven't. I have it printed out, but I also have it on bookmarked on my computer where I can just pull it up real fast. Okay, that's where I wanted to go. Okay, that's how you spell that, just to make sure I don't spell it wrong. So
Well, that's called doing your research.
right. So yeah,
Did you do a lot of research for this book, or was it mostly made up?
I did. I did quite a bit of research. A lot of it was made up, but even when you make up stuff, you kind of gotta read things and figure out stuff like, how far can a horse travel in a day, or how fast can a train travel in one day, 1 hour. So how long it would take to get from point A to point B, and then structure that in your story. Uh, what is some of the other things? I can't remember some of the stuff I researched, but there's different things I researched, but a lot of it just comes from reading fantasy and having such exposure to it anyway, that you kind of learn how your magic system works, and you put all the rules in place, so you kind of have all that lined out beforehand. So I guess that's kind of research, and then you structure it, and it can kind of ebb and flow a little bit. But once you kind of put the book out, you need to stick to it, or else you're going to lose people and lose readers and say that shouldn't have been able to happen, because I've done the same thing. How did they suddenly be able to do that? You've never said anything about that before. But so I did a decent amount of research. Most of the research probably revolved around how to actually publish the thing. To be honest with you, though, get the book out and get it online.
Well, I'm going to quote my favorite author here, who happens to be my favorite, I should say, mainstream traditionally published author. In fact, he's a New York #1 best-time selling author multiple times over, and it's amazing how often I draw on his quotes when I'm dealing with all you wonderful indie and self-pub and smaller authors. He said, don't write what you know, write because you have a mini PhD in the subject, and you know what you like about that genre, you know the pacing you like, and you know what makes a good book to you.
Exactly. That's a great quote. Who is that?
Brad Thor. He is
Brad Thor. If you said that, I missed it. Sorry.
That's okay. I probably left his name out, but he is a multiple time #1 New York Times best-selling thriller writer. And he
Awesome.
does a lot of research. In fact, he even came out with an article in the past couple years where he talked about his first book and how he failed to do the research.
Ooh.
And how many people, because he had clips in firearms
that there shouldn't have been clips in. Oh goodness.
Yeah, and since then the clips in his book are restricted to paper, hair, and ties. There are magazines in firearms. And
yeah.
Now if he writes about it in his book, unless it's bolted to an airframe or bolted to a U.S. military vessel, chances are he's actually fired it.
That's much better. That's much better. Yeah. That's especially when you're talking about real world stuff. Fantasy, they'll allow you a little
leeway.
A little more leeway, yeah. But still, even then, you got to know, just like a sword. Okay, if you know it's 3 feet or 2 feet or 10 feet, if you say, he was 10 feet away and he hit him with a sword, people are gonna go, what? No, spear maybe, but a sword, no. It's the same kind of thing. But yeah, it's when you base your story in the quote unquote real world, or as it is today, you got to do a lot more research.
And he has become that expert, and he has done his research, and he has never gone back and corrected his first book, but he has explained written an article explaining the mistakes where he went wrong.
Ah, gotcha.
And I think that was a big, huge thing for him to do.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great of him to own that, say, hey, I can't go change this, but here's here's the mistake I made, and I'm gonna not do it again. That's a big deal too. You'll gain a lot of respect that way from people.
And he also mentioned something which, being from Texas, you'll appreciate this one. How the members of the firearms community found, and that's where most of his mistakes in his first book, they revolved around firearms.
Uh-huh.
And the firearms community just poured out to him and said, "Why don't I meet you? Let's get you to a range. Let's talk about this. Why don't you fire this weapon?" And since then, he has become a strong Second Amendment firearms owner, and he will happily admit this. And I've seen many of his interviews. In fact, when it comes to Brad Thor books, I am a self-described rabid Brad Thor fan.
That's awesome.
His book hits my Kindle at midnight. I've read it by sunrise.
Oh wow, that is a true definition of fan, which is short for fanatic. So there you go.
Oh yes, I am blessed to have a signed Brad Thor or two on my bookshelf.
That's awesome.
Yes, he is, and like I said, that's why I'm always asking writers about their research. How do you research a fantasy novel? Because I've learned by listening how he researches his thriller novels, which are, us against the terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
In one way, shape, or form, it's us against the terrorists. But research a world that doesn't exist, I can't, I'm always struggling to wrap my brain around the concept.
Right. Yeah, it's you can it's more, actually, you kind of hit it on the head there. It's more the concepts that you gotta do the research on, and if they're going to go through a forest, what kind of trees are going to be there? Is this a high altitude forest? Well, they're not going to have palm trees up in the mountains, et cetera. I mean, that's kind of a little silly example, but that is the kind of stuff you got to research too. If you want to set it more Earth-like, and since mine is Earth in the future, Terra Unum is actually Latin for Earth One, FYI. So that's one way you got to do some of your research too.
Editing is called, I'm going to go back to editing for just a moment because I found this is a fun question. Editing is called slaying your darlings. Was there something you'd put in this book that a scene that you had to take out despite how much you loved it because it just didn't work?
There was most of the scenes I left in, but there was probably 3 or 4 that my editor says, you can leave this in there, but it's either not necessary, distraction, or there was one she said, you need to take this one out. So obviously I took that one out. But there was a couple that I was like, man, I really like those scenes, but okay, I may looked at them to try kind of rework them, and then I decided, I can't make them work and fit for what I want to do. There's actually a whole kind of subplot storyline that I actually took out. I couldn't make it work coherently in the time frame of the book and how I wanted it to work, and it just distracted from the main story. So I had to take out 4 or 5 scenes from that actually subplot. So I took out a whole subplot that I've had. That's been one of the main subplots since I came up with the concept. So I definitely had to kill some of my darlings, even though this particular guy was a thief. That that subplot I had to take out. So he's still one of my darlings, but I had to take him out.
All right.
And it's a little bit painful, but you can do it. And that's another good part of, if you get a good editor, listen to them. They a lot of times they're a professional for a reason.
Well, I think that is great advice. And as I do with everyone at the end of the episode, why don't you tell readers where they can find you when you're not on the air chatting with me?
Awesome. So if you want to go to my website, it's rjbatla.com. It's spelled Batla, Batla, but said Batla, like you bought something. My Twitter handle is rjbatlaauthor. On Facebook, I'm rjbatlaauthor, if you can believe that. And email is rjbatlaauthor@gmail.com. And I'm pretty responsive. If you send me an email or tag me on Facebook or anything, I'll respond. It may not be instantaneous, but I'll respond. I definitely do that. I love interacting with people.
I think that is a great way to be. And I also think it is time for me to pick up that copy of Fire Eyes Awakened and steal it off the table, pour myself a cup of coffee, and settle down with a good book. And for those of you who want to track me down, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. You can shoot me an email at the station, Jessie, Jessie, at KLRNradio.com. And I will see you next time in the coffee shop.
Come in store and you'll also get a 10-day sample of Double Wear Longwear Foundation in your perfect shade. Quantities are limited, so don't miss the Estee Lauder free gift. Now through August 23rd at Dillard's and Dillards.com.